Hey,
Golan.
Golan, where are you?
Well, I'm in Barcelona. The intention was to have this call from my office, where you could see the posters of the films I've made behind me and really be fancy. But it started raining cats and dogs here this morning, and they shut off the train, and so I didn't make it back to the office after my Pilates class, which is why I'm in my exercise outfit instead of a fancy outfit for you guys. So with your permission, I am on the street in Barcelona. It's a man on the street interview today.
You still look gorgeous, darling.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, the rain makes me look good. It's nice. It's kind of like Paris. After it rains, it looks better somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Golan, I want to introduce you to Natalie Ogle, who's an actress.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hello, hello.
Yes. And you've met Debbie, of course.
Yes, I met you last time.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm here in my underwear, actually, Golan, just waiting for you. You're on the street
Well,
now in my underwear.
It's hard to forget you, but you've done it again.
Absolutely. Nat and Debbie are in a play, Calendar Girls, and they've just got fantastic reviews. So we're all celebrating.
Oh, how lovely. That's great. I will say many years ago, I used to be an actor. I decided, oh yeah, I don't even know if you know this. I was an actor. I did off-Broadway work. I did some work, let's say Broadway adjacent. I had Broadway directors and actors working with me. And it's been a very long time since then, but I still love going to theater. Very quick story. So I was doing a play with a Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, an Obie Award-winning director, who'd been nominated, both had been nominated for Tonys. And I was doing a play with them, and I realized partway through the play, I just didn't want to be an actor anymore. And I went to them, and I said, what do I do? And they said, well, you finished the run, first of all. After the run is over, of course, in theater, I don't know about at your level, but at the level I was working at, there's no money. And they said, even though they were one of the most legendary off-Broadway troupes working in New York, they said, there's still no money. But if you want to come work for us, you can work as an assistant to both the writer and the director. You get one salary for double the work. And if you really want to give up acting, you're allowed. And I did. I quit after that play was over. And that play was being later, we got directed by Jeff Daniels, the actor. But we had all sorts of really interesting experiences with that one. And after that, I just stopped acting and went behind the scenes. And I basically, except when my wife occasionally makes me act in movies that we produce, I don't do it anymore. And I'm much more fulfilled. But I love watching actors and their craft. It's just not my thing anymore.
Well, I think the thing is that I feel, I don't know if you do as well, Dee, but being a producer is very hard.
Very.
Being an actor is easy. All you've got to do is remember the lines and not trip over the furniture.
Very true. Golan, you were talking about the industry, the state of the industry after COVID. What do you think? And the strike?
Yeah, I would say actually that the strike more than COVID. COVID did a lot, but I think we recovered from COVID pretty well. There was a lot of stuff going on in terms of the price of things going up because suddenly you needed all sorts of COVID administrators and everything on set. So they said that in some cases films were 30% more expensive to make thanks to the COVID protocols. But we got through that. And we realized after a while, we didn't need masks on set. We didn't need the COVID protocols. It was fine, I guess, that we did whatever we needed to do to mitigate what we thought was the problem. All that stuff is pretty much gone now. The strike is a different matter because after the strike, well, first of all, okay, let me take a step back. The reason why the strike was really interesting was because it basically said that everything we knew about film and television was going to change. The contracts prior for, let's say, Netflix and other streaming services had basically said, we are not doing films and not doing TV, we're doing streaming. And so there was a different metric for it. And that metric applied to like YouTube shorts and things like that. But suddenly it was being applied to legitimate films, legitimate television series, which meant that suddenly the number one way that actors and creatives in the industry made money was through residuals. a show repeated if there was a rerun of something, or if there was a sequel or something like that. There was always some way to continue to make money, except in streaming, where they said it's a buyout. So if you were already very famous, if you already had a name, you would get a clause in your contract that was a buyout clause that was meant to like emulate what you might make as back end. But if you weren't already famous, if you didn't already have a name, there's no buyout. So you got paid for whatever you were going to do. And then that was it. And there was no residual happening after that, which killed a lot of people's careers in terms of being able to make enough money to survive. Beyond that, if you're looking at television, network television, at least in the United States, now it's a little different in the UK, but in the United States, network television sometimes meant 22, 23, 24 episodes a season, which meant that if you got hired, let's say as a writer or as an actor in a series, you're getting paid for every single episode. That sustains you for the entirety of the year. But suddenly, as a result of Netflix kind of adopting the UK model of 8 to 10 to maybe 13 episodes a season, and often 2 or 3 seasons, and you're out. Suddenly, if you got hired on a television show, you got paid very little because 8 weeks or whatever it was going to be for a short run was not going to be enough to sustain you, which meant instead of getting one series for the year and going, okay, I got my series, I can pay for my kids' school, I can pay for food, I can pay for rent. Now you had to find 2, 3 series to do, and it's almost impossible. Instead of hiring, let's say, 10 people in a writer's room, and just using that number arbitrarily, but a group of people in a writer's room, they would hire 10 people. Instead of keeping them on for the entire run of the show, they would bring them in for several weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and say, hatch all these ideas, hatch a bunch of great jokes, hatch a bunch of great storylines, create a bunch of great characters. 3 weeks in, okay, thank you, that's it, your contract is over. And now we would keep only 2 or 3 of these writers to actually write the episodes based on all of those ideas, based on all those characters that were created by the group at the beginning. And so that also meant that now, instead of 10 people or 13 people or whatever it was in the writer's room that used to be, having an entire year of stability, now those people got paid a pittance to basically do the hard part, okay, building all the foundation, and then dismissed, and only a couple of people, the showrunner and maybe 1 or 2 beyond that, and sometimes just the showrunner, stuck around to do the bulk of the kind of rest of the detailing. The way I like to put it is, it's like if I built the entire house, but they made me do it in 2 weeks, and then they kept one person on to just put in the window dressing, and make sure the flower pots were put in the right place. The bulk of the work, and I'm a writer as well, and one of the things I tell my clients a lot of the time, I do a tiered system of payment. You pay me upon commencement, you pay me upon creating an outline, you pay me at a first draft, etc. The outline is the most expensive part. And they're like, what? Why? Writing the script should be the most expensive part. No, writing the script is actually easy if you have a solid outline in your hand. So the bulk of the foundation is done early, which means if you are dismissing people after the foundation is done, they've done the heavy lifting and are paid as if they've done next to none. So there's a lot of elements that went into it. And I won't even get into, I will, but not at this moment, into AI, which is a whole nother issue that's also affecting writers and actors and everybody else who isn't already, Chris Hemsworth and Tom Cruise. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And as a result of all of that being discussed during the strike, post-strike, when people said, oh, we got a victory, we held out for all these months and got a victory, there was no way that we can, as an industry, working men and women, we're never going to make up the amount of loss that they lost during the strike.
So
it's the same thing.
Has it reconciled now? What's happened?
Well, no. So post-strike, everyone's very happy that we held out for certain residuals. That's going to be helpful. And we've also done a lot of work in terms of like bringing people in for the short time and the rest of the season, the minimum amount of episodes you'll get paid for, et cetera. So we've done some movement on that. Not enough, I would argue, but some. The industry kind of shifting into this shorter model is still an issue. residuals are better, but still not what they once were, because it's not like in network television where we used to have a network, okay, in the industry where we would call each other and go, your episode is on television right now. I'm in a bar and it's playing. So now hit up your agent and tell them, okay, I need my whatever, small check, but those small checks, add up into something worthwhile. So the minute you're taking all that away, even if now you're doing a smaller version of it, it's like the music industry, where these artists can play their song on Spotify 100 times. They're forced into Spotify. They're forced into iTunes, so now they're there, but they're making a pittance, a portion of a portion of a portion of a penny for every play. And when you see the same episode watched 1 million times on Netflix, you don't get paid more for that. So many years ago, I worked for a guy named Doug Lyman. Doug is the director of Swingers and Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Edge of Tomorrow. And one of the things that he produced, along with his partner, Dave Bardis, is Suits. This is part of the company. Suits became not only the #1 show on Netflix, but the #1 show, I believe, in the history of Netflix. And the people involved. And I talked, whoa, guys, what a great surprise. You guys are probably raking it in right now. There's no additional money. There's no additional money for that. You don't get paid more money because your show has now been seen more times on Netflix. And as a result, it basically means that if my show becomes the biggest hit in the world, which that one did, my bottom line stays the same. And so that's part of what the negotiations were about. And it's better, but it's not whole. And I don't know if it ever will be again. And as we see AI, as I mentioned a moment ago, do more and more to take over elements of the industry, whether that means now there's one app that creates video that looks authentic. Right now, it's only 30 seconds long. And I talk to a lot of people who say, yeah, but did you see the quality? Or, you can ask ChatGPT to write an episode of The Office, for instance, and it will do it. And it'll do it in 10 seconds. And it won't be very good. The jokes won't be very good. The characters aren't very strong. There's a lot of flanderization, et cetera. And so people are like, it's all good. That's 1.0. And all this stuff doesn't increase like this. It doesn't go with this study line. And this is actually factual. It increases like this. It goes up. It doubles its capacity or its ability to do work, doubles every year. That means it's not that it's constantly moving at a steady pace. It's moving like a straight line up, which means right now it may not be great, but tomorrow it will be. And so for every writer should be aware of this. Every actor who is going to be replaced, which they're already doing, by the way, because part of the negotiation on AI was not that we're not going to recreate you as an actor, and not that we're going to, use AI to have your mouth changed to change the line so you don't have to do, let's say, ADR, or you don't have to come in and do reshoots. It's not that it's not happening. It's that you will get paid. This was the deal that was made. Are going to use AI to replace you. We are going to use AI to do your voiceover. But you will get paid, at least for the time being, as if you came in at your day rate. Okay, so right now, when they suddenly need a different line of dialogue spoken in a show, the actors are not coming in for that. They're just changing the mouth digitally. And then paying you as if you did it, which means eventually you're not going to pay. I mean, that's something we all have to be looking at down the line, because we can pretend it's not going to happen, but it will. And the same thing with writers, which now the deal with writers is the language was all scripts will be written with human beings involved. Like really strange phrasing. Why? Because AI will absolutely, and they've already said this. This isn't like me doomsplaining here. This is real. They've already said AI is going to be used for scripts. It's going to be used for films. It's going to be used for television. It's going to be used in writers' rooms. It's going to be used. It's going to be used as a prompt. Okay, this is the caveat, right? It's going to be used as a jumping off point. So we will use AI, and then our writers, a human being, will put pen to paper and adjust the prompt.
We don't get paid like we used to anymore. I got paid. I was in a big soap over here 20 years ago. I got 5 times more money than I do now. I mean, what the hell's going on?
Crazy. When I used to be at an agency, I used to be at CAA, Creative Artists Agency, which is the biggest agency in the world. And we had, the biggest clients, George Clooney and Steven Spielberg, all the biggest people. And I won't get into numbers because I'm not supposed to, but I will say that I remember looking at the term sheets and the annual or the even monthly amounts that people were receiving for residuals. I remember one writer, Oscar-winning writer that we had, who had written a script that won Best Picture, he made more money than most people see in their lives on an annual basis off the movie that had been made 10 years earlier. That's not going to happen anymore. So all those people who, and this is, of course, as artists, you'll understand this. It's not like a day-to-day thing. It's not that we're all going into the day job every day. We have to find the next job. We have to audition and get hired. We have to pitch ourselves as writers. And as a producer, I don't get paid until my projects go forward because it's my company. I'm the producer, which means I will work on a project for, in some cases, 10 years before I get a penny off of it. In fact, I just had a movie that had an A-list movie star. We had our director, we had our financing, we had our distributor, we had our foreign sales agent, we had our location, and then something happened. And the actor stepped off the project after she'd been a part of it for 2 years. And it had to do with internal politics that had nothing to do with us. One agent left, another one said, oh, the residuals you make, we don't want to help the agent, et cetera, et cetera. They killed the project. And when she walked off the project, little by little, the distributor said, well, we were signing on because she was a part of it. So they dropped out. And when they dropped out, one of the financiers said, well, we were doing foreign sales because of this. And then little by little, every element disappeared. And the project's gone now. And that was a project that I worked on for 6 years that we were months away from beginning to shoot. So, and I got, not only did I not get paid for that project, but I had to spend a lot of money. So yeah. I spent probably about $50,000 of my own money, as including my time, including everything else, for a project that I will never get paid. So that's normal for a producer. But now that I can't get residuals off the projects that I'm making, or I can't get back end in the same way that I used to be able to get. Now I'm going to be way more careful. I'm going to be way more selective. Instead of having these 60 projects that I'm working on simultaneously, which is normal. They say that an independent producer has 60 projects they're working on in various stages of development. I'm going to focus on 1 or 2, and I'm going to do my best. And I'm a professor, so maybe I'll teach more, or maybe I'll do other things in order to supplement my income, which I didn't have to do before.
Yeah.
So the whole industry has changed all over the world as a result of all of this. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I'll give you another example. So as a producer, I hire a lot of people who create pitching material. They do decks, they do sizzle reels, they do commercials, all sorts of different things that I use to sell my product. That's all AI now. So I used to have a graphic designer. I still do, but the graphic designer now has changed his business. So the graphic designer, I would go to them and I would say, here's the feeling I want people to get when they read this deck. I need these images. So I would hire a photographer to go shoot certain images, or to go find certain images if they already exist in stock photos. But one way or the other, there was somebody, a human being I was paying to go do this job. There was a series of human beings that I was paying to do this job. I have a guy who I've worked with for a while now, and he's a brilliant graphic designer, but he doesn't graphic design anymore. Now he has pivoted his whole business, and I don't know if he's officially put it on his card, but his title is now, let's see, it is AI prompt writer, something to that effect. And so and this is, by the way, you can look this up, you can Google it right now. The people in the industry have said, if you do these jobs, and there's a list of jobs, pivot to figuring out how to be the best prompt writer for AI generation. So what he does now is, and I remember the first time it happened, it was early on in ChatGPT and things like that, is I said, okay, I'm doing a scene in this film where 2 women, one in a wedding dress and one in a bridesmaid dress, are suddenly attacked, and they have weapons on them, and it's a big action thing, and this happens to be a set piece. So I told my photographer, okay, I need that. And he brings me back 2 photographs that I'm like, I didn't give you the budget to go get a church and to go, how did you do this? They're perfect. And he said, they're just AI generated. You look
Yeah.
at them and you go, where did you get these actors? Where did you get the props? I didn't, none of it is real anymore, which means that photographers can basically take a break. Graphic designers can take a break. Half the time now, for me, I write log lines. I'll take a script that's 100, 120 pages long, and I will boil it down to one sentence. It's a gift that I have that I can do. I know it's a talent. They don't need it anymore. I feel here, I'm going to type some bunch of words in and boop, here's your log line. Yeah, it's pretty good. So I might tweak it afterwards, but I don't have to do the bulk of the work anymore. And this is a lot of people within the industry. So you're talking about everybody being touched by this, unless they all already a superstar, already have a name, already have enough money. That doesn't matter anymore. So
Well, I don't think they can do it in the theatre, can they, Golan?
No, they can't do it in the theater, except what they can do in the theater, and this is, I talked to my theater friends about this, is lighting designers, the AI lighting design. Now, someone else will have to implement that lighting design, but since so much lighting design now is digital, is computer driven, you can have AI design your lighting. You can have it implement your lighting. So lighting designers, production designers who design the staging, same thing. Costume designers. My wife is a costume designer, what she does for a living. And so much of it is, okay, I'm going to type in, here's the era, it's in the 1800s, it's gangs of London, whatever it is. And then they go, here's a bunch of stuff. Now, someone has to make it, but now the designer is not doing the same work they were doing before. But there is a positive. The positive side is, like anything else, like we always have, they said when TV came out, film was going to die. And when film came out, theater was going to die. There was always something, right? There is a way the human race as a whole is the most adaptable of any that exists. And evolution exists constantly within our sphere. We will also adapt. And when we do, I think we'll find a way to utilize this to make things even better. One of the things that I teach my students as a professor is I talk to them about, when you look at any story, right, there is a challenge that comes, that's the catalyst of the story. And then the first thing that the protagonist is going to do, the main character is going to do, they're not going to suddenly start learning. You don't suddenly go into a training montage. The first thing that we do, I call it the easy way and the hard way. The easy way is we use the tactics that we already have at our disposal, which means the first thing that I'm going to do is try and keep the status quo. I'm going to keep doing what I used to do and hope that the world will change around me. Eventually, what we always discover is the world is going to keep marching. I do believe there is hope ahead. Right now, it seems crazy, just like every time something new happens, this is going to be the end of home video. Okay, then we evolved into streaming. Oh, streaming is going to be the end of this, and then we evolved into something else. We'll evolve into the next stage. I have a 2-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter, and I'm focusing on, my daughter's going to be 8 this Saturday. And I'm doing everything I can to focus my energy there.
The same day as my daughter.
Really, 27?
Yeah, 27th of April. Except she's a little bit older.
How much older?
He's 37.
Okay, so very similar, very similar. It's like I tell my daughter, every time you want to know how old I am, just add 40 to your age.
Thank you so much.
Amazing.
What a fascinating episode. This has been great.
Thanks for having.
Really very special. Thank you, darling.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.